nail artist, if you enjoy Draw and Paint What You Regret on YouTube and you would like to show your support, you can find Cash App and Venmo information below. This channel is free to watch and learn from. If you like any of my art products, please go to mpbimage.com to purchase. If you purchase, make sure you leave a comment so my product maker know that you've purchased from the YouTube link. So when it comes down to it, this is our image that we are going to use for this actual exercise. So I did drop the image into the chat, and or you go to the Google Drive folder and
Yep,
get it as well if you don't already have it.
I've got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to our image, I'm gonna start this demo with the process. So starting with the envelope shape, gesturing, and then I'm going to do my best to move quicker to get to our ellipses. So you can practice ellipses. You can also practice proportion boxes and also practicing just kind of comparative relationship measuring as well. This is important because this kind of gives you a little bit more closer to what you are seeing when you're drawing from a photo. So I'm going to start with an envelope shape. Hopefully, and here's the thing, because I know when I look back at the video, typically my envelope shapes don't even show back up on the
Oh,
video. But I'm gonna try and draw just a little bit darker
okay.
for you. But we already know that an envelope shape should be very light, and also your gesture should be very light as well. So I want to make sure I'm in the frame. So I'm just gonna look at my computer screen just to get my first line down. So once again, my first line is getting the vertical of my sphere for my envelope shape. And then I need to draw in a diagonal to connect my sphere to my cylinder, a horizontal line for the top of my cylinder, another diagonal for my cube, another vertical line, and then another diagonal line and diagonal on the opposite end connecting to my sphere, if you got an idea of that.
Wait,
So
the last one was diagonal or horizontal?
the last one is actually diagonal. So if I take my
Oh,
pencil
yeah.
and
Okay.
line it up, it's diagonal.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm going to get down my envelope shape, and once again, I'm going to draw my lines a little bit darker than what I normally would draw them. And I also want to make sure I'm staying within the frame.
And are you trying to make it proportional, your page to that page as well?
Here's the thing. Yes, that is the goal. You want to make sure you're placing your envelope shape um either in the center of so for me, because I can only go by my screen that you're seeing. So for me, I am doing my best to make sure I'm paying attention to where the edge of my paper is, and where the edge of my envelope shape is. And I'm going to do my best to look at this side to make sure that I have the same amount of space between the two. The reason for that is you just want to make sure you're placing your whole composition in the right spot for your paper format. That's
Do
what
do
the,
do I do the whole thing then?
you
Since I
don't necessarily, because I know your
that's
paper
it.
is yeah, it's a lot bigger than mine. So you don't have to do that. So if
So
you
I
want
could cut
to,
it in half.
yep, yeah, yeah, you can definitely do that.
Great minds think alike.
Exactly. So while you're doing that, I'm going to continue to get my envelope shape down. So I'm just making sure um, I am doing my best to draw the right angles. All right, so now that I have my envelope shape down, once again, the next step is to gesture in my objects. So I'm going to gesture in my sphere and get that down. I'm going to think about space as well. So I need to make sure I'm seeing the space in between my sphere and my cube. So I want to get that space in as accurate as I can. Um, it's still a gesture, so I know that uh, It's not going to be fully accurate because it's a gesture. I just need to see my composition. So now that I got that in, I want to look at just spacing for relationships of the cylinder in the cube, the cylinder in the actual sphere. So what I did in this line that you're seeing, because I have a printout, I'm able to draw onto my printout. So the actual photo, because the sphere and the cube overlap, we don't really see what's happening behind the
Hmm.
sphere and the cube. But because we're drawing, you want to make sure you are drawing through on your image because that would definitely help you just have a clear understanding of the structure of the cylinder. So I want to make sure I'm paying attention to where I'm placing my cylinder in relationship to my cube and my sphere. See it a little bit more over. And I'm just doing a quick gesture of it. I'm not going to worry too much about structure as of right now. So right now, this is my gesture that I have here. So now I have to move into proportion boxes and some modification. So the one thing that I want to do with my image is I want to talk about how to use a skewer because I know this morning I did have a student that was just like, "Oh, you kind of lost me with the skewer." So I'm going to do my best to explain this. So I think it's last class, I taught students how to draw a circle, and I used unit of measurement, and I used a paper. So I got the height of um of my sphere, and I marked it down. And then I also double check that to make sure that that equals the width of my sphere, and it does. So we already know that the
Mm.
ratio of a sphere is 1 to 1. That's the easiest thing we could get down for our ratio. So with that being said, I'm like almost lost my skewer. That being said, I'm using the skewer in the same way. So I'm going to mark down the width of my skewer, and I'm marking it on to my skewer with my pencil. So I'm getting the width of the sphere. What I am going to do is let me try and get in the frame. I'm taking this measurement that's here and I'm going to use it to compare to my cylinder. So I'm going to line it up where my cylinder is. I'm going to make another mark onto um, my skewer because I need to see the difference between the width of the sphere in relationship to the width of the cylinder.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm marking it. So this is important because I have to do the same thing to my paper.
Yeah.
So the actual drawing is on my paper. So now I'm going to turn my skewer around because I don't need those markings. I am going to get an idea for the width of my circle, and I want to make sure that the width and the height is the same because I need to draw in my box. So I'm going to go ahead and get my square drawn in. And once again, if you want to use a ruler for this, you could definitely use a ruler for this. I just want to make sure that this is the height that I need. I didn't draw that line. And so for this circle, I'm not going to spend for right now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I really want to make sure I'm getting to uh, the cylinder and the cube because that is what's important. So of course we would draw in our X to get to the center of this the square. We just want to make sure that one side is mirroring the other, vertical and horizontal. And then we will start the process of drawing our circle. So we already know how to do that. I'm not going to spend time. on this, but when you are drawing, you would just want to make sure you get an accurate circle to the best of your ability. So now that we have that down, what I am going to do is once again, like we did with the markings on our image, I'm going to take the width of my skewer. I'm going to line it up with my cylinder. So I remember that the width was just a little bit before, um, was a little bit before the width of the cylinder was a little bit before the width of my sphere. So that's why I'm able to make this a mark for my cylinder. So now that I have that down, um, I want to make sure I'm just drawing in the bottom of this box and get the width down accurately. All right, so I'm able to connect this together.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is sort of the kicker that can easily confuse students. So when I take my sphere with measurement, because that's what I'm using to get my measurements for my cylinder, which is this line that's here. Now I'll do my best to erase out this line for right now if I can. So I'm going to turn this unit of measurement vertical and I'm going to line it up um, to vertically to my cylinder.
Mm.
So I need to do the same on my image because I did not do that. So I'm going back to my width measurement for my sphere. I'm going to turn this vertical and I'm going to mark it onto my cylinder. I'm going to continue to use this measurement that's here and I'm going to move um, this line vertically to my next point. So I'm marking this down and hopefully I can erase this line out so there's no confusion. So if you remember when I said in the lecture, when I see my one unit, my width unit, in my brain, I'm thinking about a ruler. So it's safe for me to say that, okay, this is 1 inch, right?
Yeah, I can see that. Sure.
That's how I'm pulling out the numbers that I'm going to pull out.
Yeah, that's your measurement.
Yes.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
So when I turn
that
this
makes sense.
vertical, this is also 1 inch, right? I'm going to take this line and line it back up here. And if we can see where this line stops, it's about halfway of this width measurement. So it's safe for me to say that the ratio is if I can get it down in these areas, the ratio for this is 1 to 1.5. It's safe for me to say that because this line is about halfway within this unit of measurement. So now that I have that and I also have the ratio down, once again, I got to transfer that to my actual drawing. So I'm going to move back to the width measurement for my sphere. I'm going to turn this measurement
Mhm.
vertical and line everything up. And then I remember that about halfway, I'm just going to mark halfway of this unit is where the height of this is going to be. So I'm going to mark that onto my paper. So this is my 1 to 1.5 ratio. So now that I have that, I am going to do my best to draw straight lines to the best of my ability. I swear the older I get, the more wobbly these lines get, which
Oh
I'm
my
okay.
goodness, you're so young.
I know. Wait. I'm feeling it. I know the older I get, the more wobbly they're starting to become.
No.
All right, so I did my best.
That's good. Looks
to
good.
get some straight lines down. Okay, so I'm going to connect this together. So it's safe for me. I'm just cleaning off my eraser right now to kind of erase this out so there's no confusion. So now that I have my proportion box for my cylinder, meaning I have my width, I have my height, I got that information from the width measurement of my sphere. So now we're going to move into ellipses because this is very important for us to practice. So if we are thinking about our image that is here and we think about the actual rule of ellipses, we understand that this is a flatter ellipse, and we also understand that this ellipse is probably closer to the actual lens of the camera. So the camera only has one eye. Typically, these photos are taken with a single lens camera. So that means the eye level for the camera is somewhere in this area. It's very close um, to the top of the ellipse. So if we're thinking about our rule of ellipses, that means that this ellipse down here is going to be more open and wider than this flattened ellipse. So we have to keep that in mind. I always joke around because I have a colleague. She always say, think of a happy face at the bottom of the ellipse because that helps you with opening up your ellipses when you're drawing. So now that I have that logic down, I want to use an intuitive ellipse. So I want to start with a rectangle, but because the top of the ellipse is more flattened, I need to make sure that I'm drawing a flatter rectangle. So how I'm getting this actual rectangle, I have to keep in mind how flat this is. Now, the question can come up, can we measure the height of the ellipse? Yes, you can measure it. I'm just using my eyeballs to the best of my ability because it does allow me to move faster and it helps me just train my eye a little bit more. So when I'm um thinking about my ellipses, I'm just kind of like, okay, this is how flat I believe it is. Once again, I'm going to come in with an X because this is an intuitive ellipse. So I'm drawing a diagonal line from one corner to the next to the best of my ability. And I want to get in my major and minor axis. So I'm going to leave this here for right now, and I'm going to move to the bottom ellipse. So if I'm saying this is the rectangle that I have for the top, and also I just need to double check and look at the spacing for them because although this feels very flat, it also looks like it's a little bit too wide from what I'm seeing here.
Too fat.
Yeah, so I'm gonna gesture it in just to see if I can compare the two really quick. I'm just lightly gesturing it in. I am comparing, and I probably need to make it a little bit flatter. So
Hmm.
you can see how easily you can kind of make a mistake, but you also can correct yourself. So because our drawing is in more of a gestured state, I have no problems with erasing out my drawing
Yeah.
and fixing it. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this rectangle. And I'm just going to make it a little bit more flatter for myself. And then I'm going to come back in with an X, our diagonal line, to complete my X. And it's in the center. I just want to make sure they're mirroring each other to the best of my ability. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to travel down to the bottom um, of my cylinder. And I want to make sure that this ellipse is a lot more open or wider than this one, right? Because we want to, once again, think about that smiley face at the bottom, right? So we need more of a curve. So I'm going to draw in my X as well. So that rectangle is a lot more open than this one. So I'm drawing in my X again. I want to make sure that uh, our minor axis is lining up with this top one to the best of my ability because I did not measure nothing.
Pretty good.
So I'm just trying to make sure this is mirroring that to the best of my ability. A little cricket, but let me see if I can darken this line just a little bit more. So now that I have that, I need to get in my major line down here. And I just want to make sure that these rectangles are at least mirroring each other in width and height. So these parts for points that are there, I want to make sure that I have them marked so I can see them. I'm going to gesture in my ellipse. Because once again, I just need to see it to make sure that is what I need to get the curvature that I'm looking for. So we need more of a curve than this, and this is how sometimes a photo can lie to you. So we just want to make sure we're just keeping in mind our rules for our ellipses. So now that I have a gesture in, I feel pretty confident about this gesture and also this box for my gesture. So I'm going to start at a point and start to curve. I'm using more of an organizational line, so it's a darker line. I'm going to curve to my next point, start at that curve, continue to curve to my next point. I'm going to start at another point, quickly start to curve to my next point,
Well, it looks good.
and then I am going to curve again from that point and quickly curve to my next point. So I typically do my best, and I may or may not do it for this demo, but because I need to make sure I'm staying on top of time. So I'm just doing my best to analyze my ellipse, and what I am seeing, this side feels good. This side is a little wonky, so I probably need to go back in and do my best to correct it. So I'm just going to clean off my eraser again, and I'm going to do my best to just erase this line out and try to correct this line to the best
Hmm.
of my ability. Then I'm going to stop and look again. It looks better. There's still some issues, but it looks a lot better than where it was. So I'm okay with leaving my ellipse here for right now. So now that I have this ellipse in, I want to move to the next one that's at the top. So this is where it gets a little tricky because we can easily run into kind of a racetrack kind of shape. So I'm gonna do my best not to run into that. Even if I do, I can always just open up my ellipse a little bit more. So I'm gonna gesture in my ellipse again. I just need to see it just to make sure that it's what I need to get for my top ellipse. And it feels pretty good. If I'm looking at my photo, that feels pretty good. And then this one, if I look at this line, that feels pretty close to what I'm seeing. So once again, I'm going to start at a point and start to curve. I'm using my organizational line. I'm going to curve, curve, curve until I get to a point. And then I'm going to start back at this point, curve, curve, curve until I get to my next point. I'm going to start at this point. I'm going to curve and curve until I get to my next point. I'm going to start at this curve. So this is where I have issues. And I'm going to try and make sure that I'm curving this last point. Once again, I want to stop. I want to analyze it. So
Hmm.
for me, what I'm doing is I'm drawing it out, but I'm looking at my drawing in my computer screen because that helps me get a better idea for what I just drew down. because I'm drawing flat this way. So this can mess up
Mhm.
my perspective and it also can make my drawing distorted. So if I'm looking at my screen, I see my screen vertical. So that's helping me with correcting myself.
Yeah, I see that.
So I'm looking at my lips and I'm just like, okay, that feels pretty good in relationship to
Good.
um my drawing or not drawing, my image that is here. So now that I have that, I want to connect these two ellipses together. So remember, I want to start at my major line and I have to connect these two lines together with a vertical line. So I'm going to do my best to draw in a straight line. Once again, you have rulers, so
Hmm.
if you need to pull out a ruler, you can. So I'm just coming in, I'm just darkening this line that I have, gesture down, and I'm just connecting it to um, my major axis, which is my horizontal line. So that is my cylinder. The next thing I need to do is I need to move into my cube. So really quick, that way this circle doesn't look so horrible. I'm just gonna go in and come in and just draw some straight line segments for the circle. So at least it looks like I tried to do something to it. And so right now I'm just gonna leave this here. Is there a lot of adjusting I need to do? Yes. But you can at least see that I tried to do some connections for right now. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I want to, first of all, think about the perspective of the object that I'm about to draw, which is my cube. So because we see a corner, that is telling me that this is 2 point perspective because I see a left plane and I also see a right plane. So that tells me I have a left and right vanishing point. So once again, if you know what perspective you're seeing, typically that is the first step to letting you know how to tackle this drawing. So what I definitely need to get down is I need to get down um, my vertical line for my cube. So once again, I'm gonna try my best to draw a vertical line.
Have you already gotten the proportion to the 1 inch?
No, not yet.
Okay.
That's a
Okay.
good point. So right now I'm just trying to get my vertical line down.
Okay.
So I have my vertical line, and once again I'm going to move back to my image because there's some things that I definitely need to do. I need to draw out some level lines. So I'm taking my skewer and I'm lining it up to the corner of my cube and I'm trying to see where does this horizontal line lands in relationship to my
Mhm.
sphere that's here. So I am going to make a note of that. So it was a little bit above my sphere.
Mhm.
So I need to draw it over a plumb line, not plumb, a level line over, and I'm just going to double check that height to make sure that that makes a little bit sense. And it's pretty close, so I'll take it. So this is important because that means that I need to draw this back line a little bit taller. So right now, I am just going to draw in a vertical line to start with. So I'm using my plumb and level lines to kind of help me with that. Um, I want to use another level line because I want to see this line in relationship to my sphere as well. And what I'm seeing is that it's a little bit above the bottom of the sphere. So I want to make a note of
Wait,
that.
what are you lining it up with on the right?
So at the end, let me darken this and hopefully you can see it. Um, I'm lining up the corner end of the cube, and
Okay.
then I'm taking my skewer and I'm using a horizontal line
Okay.
to
Got
get
it.
an idea
Yeah.
where
And where, what was it that you did the one on top? What were you lining it up with on the cube on
the
the one
end
right before this?
the ends of the
That same
cube.
corner.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
The
yeah,
top. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm using my level line to get an idea of where this horizontal line is in relationship
Good.
to my sphere. So I want to make a note of that. That way I can line up the same thing with my sphere on my drawing. So
Hmm.
I'm just going to do my best to draw a horizontal line over. So this is giving me the overall height that I need
Hmm.
um, for my cube. So I can do the same thing, trying to find um, the overall height, or at least the placement of this corner. So I'm going to use a level line. I'm going to get an idea for where this horizontal line is in relationship to my sphere that's here. I'm going to make a note of it and I'm going to do the same thing
Good.
here.
Good.
And I'm just going to draw that line across because I remember seeing this much space in between. So that's very helpful because that means that I'm placing my
Printer phone.
corner line in relationship to my horizontal line. So
Okay.
now what we're looking at is we see that this line is very tall in its height and this line is very short. So that means I need to get an idea again for the height of this line.
Thank you so
So I'm using a level line again. I'm getting an idea of the spacing of my level line in relationship to my sphere. And I'm making a note of the spacing that's here. And so I see it right here. I'm drawing that line over so I can continue this line that's here. So you may say to yourself, okay, Jury, these are a lot of lines. And this is getting very confusing. So
I can
you
see what
may,
you're doing though. I can see what
yeah,
you're doing. It
you
makes
may
sense.
say that. And here's the thing. Typically, these lines are supposed to be very light,
Yeah.
not as
Yeah.
dark as I'm drawing them.
But I wouldn't see them then.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so now that we have somewhat of an idea of this, and I'm probably going to go up a little bit higher. Now, what we can do is just to make sure our cube is in measurement, we're going to start back with our width measurement for our sphere. Let me make sure I got the right one. It's this one. So I'm going to take this measurement, right? And of course, I'm probably going to have to travel across. So let me get back to the image. So I'm going to take this width measurement that's here, and I'm going to place my skewer to the end of the cube, the left plane, and I'm marking it. So that is one width. I'm going to take this width
Mm-hmm.
again. I'm going to place my skewer here, and then this is two. So if we have one, I want to make sure I'm using the right,
Yeah, measurement
yes,
mark.
the right mark exactly.
Mhm.
So it's about halfway. So I'm just gonna mark this here so I can see it and I'll erase it out. Yeah. So it's about half, not really, it's a little under halfway of our half mark for our
Sphere.
sphere. Yes, thank you. So now that I have some of these markings that are here, this is also helping me, these markings here. It'll help me with transferring this to my actual drawing as well. So I want to once again start back with measurement and just make sure this the yes, the right one. I want to bring it to this line that's here because this is the back of this plane. I want to mark it. And then I remember that it was a measurement that was a little bit before the half.
Mhm.
I'm going to place that. So this is actually being pushed out of my envelope shape. Is this a bad thing? No. Does it kind of mess up my placement of my actual composition? Probably so. But let's pretend I have a big enough paper and I'm not working within a frame of a camera. So what I'm gonna do,
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do is
Good.
I'm gonna draw out this vertical line and I'm just gonna gesture it, and I'm just gonna try and fix it after I gesture it.
Is that how big the cube needs to be?
Yeah, yeah. Than what I originally drew for my gesture.
Hmm.
How about I just do this because obviously I'm struggling. Um, Clean up my line just a bit. All right, so I just want to make sure that line is as vertical as I can possibly get it. And I'm probably need to fix this line as well because it feels like it's leaning one side. That's a little bit better. All right, so now that I have the width of this plane that is here, now I need to get the angles down because I have all of my verticals in. I just need to get my angles down. So I did draw in a horizontal line earlier because I need to get the angles of the bottom plane of my cube because that places my cube onto the table. So once again, I have issues with angles, so I really do have to make sure I'm paying attention to making sure I'm getting the proper angle. So I'm going to start with this angle here, and I'm going to do my best when I move this down, not to adjust my pen too much. So I'm just going to lightly draw in that angle, and then I need to double check the angle because if you can see, and I'm going to do my best to darken this line that's here, if we're looking at this negative space, I kind of feel like mine's it's just a little bit too wide, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to lock my elbow so I know I'm not moving my hand too much. I'm going to bring it down and place it. That means I need to bring it down just a little bit more than what I have it. So this is where it's kind of trial and error. And I want to just want to double check again. I typically do have issues with angles. So I'm just lining it up and that feels pretty comfortable to what I'm seeing as far as that negative space is. So I need to do the second one and I am going to do my best to lock my elbow and bring this down. And then I'm just going to draw in this angle lightly. And I just want to make sure I didn't complete it. I just want to make sure that it's as accurate as I can get it. So I'm locking my elbow again. I'm bringing this down. I'm lining it up. And I just want to make sure it feels pretty comfortable to what I'm seeing. And also this negative space and this negative space look pretty consistent. So now that I have that down, I extended this to the wrong line. I am going to do my best to get this vertical line down or darken it so I have a better connection. So now these angles, I want to make sure I'm connecting or using perspective so I know I have some type of vanishing point up here, another one that is off the frame of my camera. So I want to intuitively just make sure that I'm not drawing these lines parallel to each other because they eventually will converge to a vanishing point. So I want to keep that in mind when I'm drawing.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna start with this line, and just make sure that I'm doing my best to make sure that these lines are slowly converging and getting smaller. I'm gonna start here, and then I'm going to do my best to do this line as well. So now that I have a gesture in, I want to make sure I'm checking my angles. So once again, I have issues with angles. I have to constantly do this. So I'm lining up my skewer to my image, bringing it down, just to make sure my angles are consistent. That feels pretty good.
Mhm.
And then this is another one. I'm gonna lock my elbow and also bring this down. That feels pretty consistent too. I'm gonna double check it and the camera just to make sure that they look pretty consistent. They look pretty consistent. I'm not mad at it. So I'm gonna draw this line up. Just kind of darken my lines if I can. And once again, this line is converging to the same vanishing point that's here. So once again, they're not parallel. Same thing here. This is converging to some type of vanishing point for this and this. So I just want to make sure that it's parallel, not parallel to each other. So I'm gonna double check my angles again. And I'm just gonna make sure I got the angle. Let me lock my elbow. That feels pretty good. Not that bad. Well, that's a little off, so I need to bring that down just a bit. Then I'm just gonna double check it in the camera and also double check it in the image. And that feels pretty good. I'm not mad at it. As long as I'm close, I'm okay. Let me get some of these extra lines off of here and get my fingerprints off of here as well. So now that I have that down, I can draw through. And I want to make sure that, once again, these lines are converging to the same vanishing point. This is my vertical line here. And here's the thing that's happening. It's probably a good thing that this happened because I could be running into just not drawing my lines um, as straight as I need to. But you see that I'm not meeting my end corner in the back. So that means that um, this angle that's here, I'm probably not lining it up properly. So because we don't see that line on the image, I'm just going to adjust my angle um, to
Mm.
match.
Mhm.
So that's probably the quickest way to problem solve that issue. And then I'm going to just double check what it looks like in the camera, and that would tell me if I need to adjust anything. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it feels a little abrupt down there. So I'm just going to bring this line up just a little bit and adjust this line as well.
And you're just eyeballing that
Yeah, technically this part, yes, I have to because I'm dealing with
unseen.
yes, intuitive perspective. So I'm dealing with its intuitive perspective. I don't have a ruler. So
You want to borrow mine?
I know. But it's good to see this because you get an idea of how
Yeah,
I'm trying to,
looks good, really.
yeah, I'm trying my best to draw through, although I don't even see this information.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm using perspective to my advantage,
Yeah.
to help me just draw the cube as accurate as I possibly can without some of the tools that I
Mhm.
typically would use. So I
Mhm.
know this demo is a lot longer than what it should have been, but I
Oh, it's
believe,
so good to watch it though.
yeah, I believe it's very helpful
Oh, it's very helpful.
for
Very helpful.
you. So I know we
Yeah,
have about 30 minutes
very
in
helpful.
class. And I do believe that you at very least we could get down the envelope shape. We also can get down our sphere. We could get down at least some ellipses. That way you're practicing within those 30 minutes. And once it gets probably 5 minutes towards the end of class, then I'll just check to see where you are at. Once again, if you don't finish the drawing, that's fine. As long as we're practicing some of the things that I went over in lecture and demo. I'm happy with that because I know this is just really an exercise for you. Excuse me. So what I'm gonna do
I
is,
created a skewer.